All right, welcome to Wealth Cartel, where hindsight's a motherfucker.
Our mission is to stop people saying, I wish I had a listen, and to help people capitalise on everyone else's mistakes before making them themselves.
In summary, our tagline says it all: turn our hindsight into your foresight.
So we're just a couple of lads from the west and the central coast who grew up without really any wealth around us and used it to motivate us to make something of ourselves.
Along the way, mainly as we matured, we did a lot of things right, but more importantly, we made a lot of mistakes.
A lot of mistakes that could have been avoided by not being know-it-alls and actually listening to what others had told us instead of thinking, no, not me. So my name's Acko. I'm a small business owner with a bunch of franchises called Pen on Picasso at the moment, with large plans of building a large business portfolio.
I'm Kingy. I'm a financial advisor looking to break the mold on what good advice should look like and start teaching people how to enjoy life to the fullest while also planning for tomorrow out of my business, 3 Kings Wealth Management.
Down here at Bella Vista Hotel, guys. Bella Vista Hotel has got a podcast room set up here for everyone to use. It's a great spot, good little setup for us. Nice little backdrop as well, if anyone's seen the backdrop. So, yeah, if it looks familiar to you guys, this is Bella Vista Hotel. Get down.
Get down here. It's got great food, great drinks, great cocktails, a good little atmosphere, not just for the podcast. They come down for the podcast or come down for a feed and check the guys out. Thanks for supporting us.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy the episode.
Hey guys, welcome to the 10th episode of Wealth Cartel, where we chop up our previous episodes, sort of have a look into what we've learned so far and what we believe we've taught so far, and yeah, go back over some of our guests' main points in their interview.
Yeah, that's the aim ultimately, but it never was the aim.
I don't know if that's the aim still now. I don't know now if that's the aim. Like, we just spoke about that this morning actually. So when we started this, we started it mainly, I think, because, you know, we feel like we're pretty good at what we do, and showing other people a way to fast track. Now, that's still the goal, but I don't know if that's my goal anymore in 10 weeks.
What do you mean?
Well, I just feel like in the last 10 weeks, you know, we were pretty early on in the Pinot collective at that time with the group. What is happening here? We were pretty early on there in regards to the fact that we actually hadn't started trading out of any of those studios at the time. And I think the aim there was to continuously build a life where I no longer had to work. And I'm finding in the last sort of 10 to 12 weeks that without the work, none of it means anything. So the money's one thing, which, you know, we talk about balancing it and stuff like that. But I honestly don't believe the money is the crucial part of it for me. Like, you obviously need it to live and you've got to manage it well. And I'm not really doing that at the moment. But I honestly believe the process is what's keeping me sane, keeping me healthy, making me feel better about what I do. And you know, mate, it's not the money anymore.
Why do you think that? What do you think's changed over the last 10 weeks?
With just the way I am at home too, with my family in the last 3 months. I stress a lot when it comes to what I need to happen, and I want it done when I want it done and how I want it done. I've always been that person. I think mainly because, you know, I was the boss at 18 and I did have that sort of leadership role continuously through my life. So taking that into a relationship without meaning to, you go in there, you feel like, you know, I feel like I'm the leader. And if something doesn't happen my way or something doesn't go my way, I stress. And like, I always better it. I can always fix the situation. But my relationship with my partner since starting Pinot, we thought it'd take a backward step. We thought we were going to have to work really hard on our relationship because I was now spending so much time at work, and it's actually opposite. There are times where I'm not really there in regards to the sense that I'm off with the fairies somewhere else business-wise, but I'm conscious of that, and Bianca makes me conscious of that. But our relationship in the past 3 months has probably flourished more than the business is. My relationship with my kids is better, mainly because I feel like I'm working my ass off and I feel accomplished at the end of the day. So when I go home to my family, regardless of money or whatever, when I do walk back in the door, I'm ready to spend time with them, and I'm ready to, I suppose, you know, commit more. Yeah, I don't know. To be fair, bro, I don't really know. But
do you reckon any of the guest stuff that's come on here that's helped you? Because I've noticed you pick up so many things from so many guests we've had on. Do you feel that?
Yeah, Arlene Blanco is probably one. You know, people think I plug I just plug people for the sake of it, and I just don't. I'm just not that cunt, right? So if you could be my best mate, and if you're doing something I don't reckon's good, I'm not plugging you. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll support you, but if you're not going to benefit me and the viewer or me and my other friends, good luck in doing whatever you do. But if I don't believe in it and it doesn't resonate with my beliefs or my thoughts, not to say that my thoughts are only right, I'm not going to follow. Like, I'm not going to ride it to death. Whereas with Arlene, first time we spoke properly on a level, Arlene told me some things in regards to her, the way she had to raise her kids and the sacrifices she had made. And I think anyone who has a conversation with, if you have kids and you get to meet this woman and have a conversation with this woman, you feel, I'll tell you what, there's not a lot of people that have made sacrifices like her. So I try to implement that. I try to look at what she's done. I think she's to me, she's probably my number one inspiration. I used to be inspired really hard by rugby league players, and I've sort of one of my mentors, or one of the dudes that helped me change my life around Carter. He was one for a long time, and still is. But the one at the moment that gets me going the most and hot under the collar and really wants me to succeed is her. And what she does and the sacrifices she's made and the relationship she's got. I know her partner Dion, he's a good dude, and that woman works 18 hours a day, every day, and every sacrifice she makes is for the better of not her career, but her family. And if her career succeeds on that, then it's great. And I feel like I've taken that. I've implemented certain little things that I've learned from her, and like not everything either, because like I don't train, like I'm struggling to get back into the gym, and I want to, but I'm struggling with that, with the complete, sort of worry too much about this shit.
We'll just skip through the bits and we'll just catch a bit and then go on it.
Yeah.
But I think from an outside point of view, bro, like this is fun. I'd love to see what you say about myself as well, but looking at all the guests, and I can see how you implement things from each guest. And Arlene, to me, watching from after the podcast, even before you talked about Arlene, but she inspires you from a motivational point of view. Every time you chat with Arlene, I don't think
it's placebo, no.
Yeah, almost, but it's not. It's like I didn't see any lessons in the podcast or in our interaction with Arlene that you took away and went, shit, I'll implement that. You just went, I know, she makes me want to implement what you already know. But I want to know some of the other ones, because I saw some really big like that, and shout out to Arlene. By the time we air this, she should be the
hopefully with a lot of skill and a lot of hard work, Arlene's the fucking the Bellator champion, bro. So But some of the others I want to. Some of the others. One massive one for me, like, and I think I'll remember this conversation for the rest of my life, is Charles Joyner.
Say Charles.
Fucking when Charles came in, I didn't know who he was. I knew we were sent to, and it's going to continue to proceed back to Arlene with us, because she's been a big advocate of us.
She's our OG guest.
What we do, so she's sort of given us me. She gave us Charles Joyner.
She's our first guest, wasn't she?
She's flicked us over. Like a couple of the dudes that are about to come on, like Kay and
come with the females,
but pretty much Charles come in. Charles, what's he? 25,
24, I think.
24, 25 years old. If you watch the episode, if you missed the episode, Charles is a qualified solicitor, lawyer. Finished his degree, and then realized that he wanted to get punched in the face for a living. And fucking, I tell you, like, you can grow up as hard as you want, as tough as you want. To make a decision where you walk away from something like that's probably something his family have always wanted him to do. And I never had that. I never had someone pushing me to say, listen, be a lawyer, be a doctor. His sacrifices, Charles Joyner sacrificed alcohol, 21.
Yeah.
21 years old, he gave up grog, which is something I don't know if I'd ever be able to do. I'd love to give myself a shot at it. I don't think I would, because I feel like, look, ultimately, I'd never met anyone like that dude.
Well, he was essentially he's essentially the epitome of what we're trying to help people become off the back of this. He was it without it, and
Charles fast-tracked his life without watching the World's Cartel. So Charles changed. Like, and when you're talking, big people see the thing wealth in our logo, in our name, and they go money.
Money, but that's what wealth is to us.
Charles sacrificed a fully fledged career as a lawyer to go back and fight. He currently doesn't have any full-time sponsors that I'm aware of. I think he's got a couple that help him out, but no money sponsors, I don't think.
He still trains at the gym to make ends meet.
Yeah, and he sacrificed his bar, like he still has it, but he sacrificed a fuck ton of money to do what he loves, and I mean that's not always gonna work for everyone, but in his case, even without him showcasing that it's worked right now, if someone said to me right now, who would you put your money on to become the next big thing? Charles Jordan is mine.
Yeah, and I think touching on that wealth thing is important too. Like we that was the first thing we sat and brainstormed in the office was the wealth triangle, the wealth cartel. And I think it's important if people still don't get that by now. We are called wealth cartel, but there's a difference between rich and wealthy. Rich is money, right? Everyone's is different, but the way when you think of rich, you think of money. Wealth to us, being wealthy is having that balance across all. And then for anyone that doesn't know, the wealth cartel triangle, the happiness triangle, everything you do needs to relate to happiness, right? And everyone's happiness is different. But to us, the three big balances are money, making sure your balance with money is right, because without money, you can't really enjoy everything. Your health, but make sure you're healthy enough to enjoy the money and everything. And then lifestyle, making sure that the money and the health go towards doing things that you enjoy. And I think that hasn't changed, which I'm really happy with, because we thought,
I don't think that when we first made that, we thought that would change along the way.
I thought we'd come up with it, but that hasn't changed. But we've made it more detailed in the way that every guest that's come on has really showcased how the balance, it's not a perfect triangle, how the balance changes according to what you want to do, and it changes throughout your life. And
when we spoke to the Cartel boys. Both of those dudes had Zach sort of they come up pretty different to us. Zach's old man had owned a company that was quite successful, though he'd busted since the time I knew him, he'd worked. I think I met him when he was 16, maybe, when I first met that dude. And I remember to this day, I said it in our thing, I remember meeting him and being like, that cunt's going to be rich. But at that time it was rich, but now it's success, right? And he, to me, is the example that we go about with the McDonald's millionaires that I keep speaking about my family. He's that. Because when I first met him, his aura, his persona, the way he spoke, the way he presented himself as a 16-year-old kid, to me, he couldn't fail. And I don't think people really acknowledge that too much. They say, oh, you're young, you can make a mistake. Yeah, you can. But it's pretty easy. Like if you go, in my opinion, it's opinion based too. I know a lot of people that wasted good raw talent. I know a lot of dudes that worked their fucking ass off that were never talented and become successful. But one thing I don't know is someone that was a shit person as a kid that's now a shit person still and is successful. I know people that got better as life got on, because that was me. I know that. I know I wasn't always the best, but I was never a fucking it's hard to explain. I always knew I was going to succeed in my mind, regardless of what anyone else thought, regardless of what the teachers told me, regardless of what anyone else said. You'll be this, you'll be that, you'll be anything. I knew within myself, it didn't matter what it was going to take or who it was going to take to get in my way, I was going to be successful. I believe everyone that sat in here with us has that mentality.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think what's cool though is what I realized on that front, that looking at yourself, myself, from Beaver to the Cartel boys, Arlene, Mir, Charles, that some people, I used to think, and you can tell this in the agenda or the creation of Wealth Cartel, is I always think one of the questions in there is look back and tell us what time that moment changed. And what we sort of noticed that I think you saw as well is there a lot of people had that moment where they went, yeah, this is when it changed. But I've realized there was a few people that there was
a progression.
They start like Mir, especially Mir and Charles, both didn't really have that bang. They were on a journey, but the difference is you got the two sides. Everyone who's where they are realizes it's a journey, and they don't dwell on the past.
I think another one that was massive for me as well, and I'll say this while I remember it. Steve in our interview kept talking about this bubble. And like we were laughing about it at the time, but progressively through the interview, more and more he spoke about the bubble. It just became such a thing where I nearly felt lucky not to be that as a kid, because like for me at 18, the world was my oyster. I remember thinking I can do whatever I want. I can go to America. I can go to...
Yeah, but what I found cool about that, and I want to know this from you, is in the email that I sent to Steve after it, I started thinking about, so his bubble was NRL because he's there, right? But everyone's got a bubble. Yours was living out west. That was your bubble. Going from living out west, doing whatever you're doing, coming into the business world, that's the bubble.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Now that you said that too,
like mine was the army. Mine was the army's a bubble. You know, that army life is the bubble.
I used to have this complex. You know, I'm not a shy dude by any means, and I don't generally give a fuck what anyone thinks of me. And then as I turned to business from building, when I first opened Sparkle My Smile, there was this persona about, or when I first bought my franchise, it was openly spoken about, which they didn't know about, that I knew. And I had a bit of an insider telling me, it was openly spoken about that I wasn't the brand. Now, I don't know why they sold me the franchise, to be honest, if I wasn't the brand.
Desperate.
Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe not at the time. Maybe it was more, maybe it was, I don't know. I'm not going to go I still can't go too far into that, but I know for a fact that within 3 weeks, that was the first time ever in my entire life I'd been nervous to walk into a room. Like we spoke about, I'll walk into any room, be myself, no dramas.
You know what? Let me just, that's funny, bro, because we known each other not that long then, right? But we got each other's aura pretty quick. And I remember before you got your teeth done, your first sparkling white smile thing, and you were dressed up, right? And I thought, that doesn't look like him.
So
do you know what I mean?
I dressed yeah.
Like, I don't think if you had the choice of your event now and what you'd wear to an event dressed up.
I'd still so the difference between me now and me then was I was wearing it then for someone else, and now I wear it for me. And that's the difference. When I first went there, and you know, I had a man bun and a beard, I looked like a full bikie. I was told that. Now, like I just look like trouble, you know what I mean? Now, I somehow managed to talk my way into that business, mainly because I feel I am business minded, and regardless of what I look like or where I grew up, if you sit me in front of a majority of people, I'm going to outdo you. When it comes to strategy, you know, there's a difference between, and I don't say this being arrogant either, but there's a marketing expertise, right? I'm not that. There's, business time management expertise. I'm not that. There's a financial advisor. I'm not that. But what I am is I'm confident enough in my own abilities that I know when you come and sit with me right now in front of me, I can either help you benefit your business, or I could take yours off you and run it better than you. And that's not to be, I don't say that with any disrespect to anyone, because there's a lot of people I feel could do that to me. And the reason I feel I'm so confident in that is like when I sit with you and I talk to you about that, I know there's progression in me from you. And I know I can do that for other people. So when I first started becoming confident in that surrounding, it was mainly because I would sit in a room with 30 other people, business-minded people. Some of these people are still good friends of mine too. And I would go head on, asked to go head on with the only other dude in the room that had a business mind. So what would happen was they'd pin us against each other, and I'd be the defender of the company, and he'd be sort of going at him. And what I ended up realizing was I was being manipulated because I did have this front and I did have this persona, and I wasn't the brand. They were like, well, you can do our dirty work, and
we'll blame it on you if it goes wrong.
Yeah. And look, I don't really, I'll wear that, because if you're dumb enough to let someone manipulate you, fucking shoes on your foot, right? It's your own problem. But what gradually started happening was, there'll be 20 people vouching. When if they watch this, they'll vouch for me. We walk into a meeting, into any meeting, and they'd be looking at me like, fucking say something, Dan. And like for the first little while, I was like, I'm not the brand, cunt. What the fuck are you looking at me like? I'm not, because they didn't know I knew, but I knew what everyone was saying. This guy doesn't fit the brand. Like they were, all young, pretty girls, and like my wife fitted the brand, but not essentially me. But I'm the voice, so you're not going to get her without me. It doesn't happen. It's not going to happen in a business sense. B can run her own little thing on the side. Sparkle My Smile was me, and that was the way I sort of proceeded. And even though we pinned her as the face and we ran the Instagram as her as the face, business wise, it was always going to be me. And as that sort of progressed and went further and further along, I think they all realized branding had nothing to do with how you look.
Yeah.
I think they started understanding that. I've got friends now that looked at me then, you know, they might very well have not liked me. I can understand why too. When I look back, they didn't like who I was because I did go in hell for leather and I did, you know, ruffle a few feathers and especially knowing that they'd said that about me too. In my mind, I was like, you're not going to get better. You're not going to get the better of me, cunt. You know, it's not going to happen. And it didn't matter whether you were a 21-year-old chick or a 35-year-old bloke. If you said something to me I disagreed with, I was going to tell you. But what ended up happening was I think there was another dude involved in that as well. He's a fucking good bloke. Like him and I are pretty good mates now. And we both realized, in a sense, we were pinned literally to go head on at every meeting, every fucking time. And then both of us were like, whoa, what the fuck are they doing here? And we were like, having a little chat on the side, like, hey, bro, you're pretty similar to me and pretty clever dude. Like, what the fuck are we arguing about? Essentially, we want the same thing. Let's work together. If it's going to work, it's going to be working together. So we figured that out between ourselves. We started working together and like, fucking all of a sudden I got this made. And what really happened out of that is I'll never walk into a room again, regardless of who's in there. I don't care if you're the CEO of fucking the world, man. I'm not going to walk in and not back myself. And
isn't that a fucking trait that we've had across World Cartel? Back yourself.
Well, that I don't think I could have that thought process and that progression without people like that.
Yeah.
Having a meeting have been able to, you know, it's quite humbling being able to be 31, 28 and sit down with hopefully the next world champion. You know, 5 years ago we were in awe of these people and now they're our counterparts. And to be able to do that as a kid from the West and be able to, you know, even, I don't, you know, we don't care. Like, I don't give a fuck if we get 10 views on this, you know, like I get to sit here with the next world champion. Mia Orney to me is probably the next big thing in what he does. I believe he's going to be quite large. Charles Joyner, I very well may sponsor him before he's a fucking, you know what I mean? Like these people inspire me to be better. And if I surround myself with these dudes, like we had a really good chat to Lauren Peters as well, like a gun in her own field. I took a few things away from that I never would have done, like this gratitude shit in the morning. Fuck, man, it's hard for me to get up and remember to do that. But every time, I don't implement it every day, but I've tried to do it. Alex McNally, we spoke to her. That chat, like it was a recipe for disaster. She was on the road, I was on holidays. I walked away from that chat pumped, ready to go back to work. And I feel like if I can put myself in these situations and manage to do this and speak to these type of people, why can't everyone else?
Fucking, you miss it? The day I looked at myself and went, what do you got? You king shit, you got nothing. All the best clothes, you got the Louis Sunnies. Shit, I still got Louis Sunnies. I don't have the Louis Sunnies, they broke yesterday. Well, what do you got?
Bullshit.
Yeah, I got to take them to Louis. And then my gut instinct's lost from there. Did something like that for you? Yeah. I think it happened a couple of times for me. It was never really one moment where it happened and I was like, what the fuck you got? It was more so like there was leading events where I got an uncle in my family's quite successful. Fucking some of the stuff to what happened with me was I never wanted to trust him. What
was that? So I know already right now by looking at that what I just said there, the first line of that sentence was an excuse for what was about to come. So I just excused exactly what I'd said to be prior to it happening there. I feel like I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, right. So let's tell them. So we just did a mad segment on this and I didn't press record. So we're in a full
we'll get into it too.
Transparent. We're going to try and redo a little bit, but it won't be as.
All right. So pretty much just then.
But what I started with saying, how we started is I said, we watched a part here, which you just would have heard. And it's part in the first one where Dan talks about how he used to not trust women and, you know, this kind of thing. And then he realized one day that he used to be worried that they would take what he had, but he then realized one day, what have you got for him to take? And what I said to Dan was over the course of this last, 10, 12 weeks doing World Cartel, the biggest change I've noticed in him and is his and B's relationship going from him and her to us or to we. And he wasn't a bad guy before, in my opinion. Like looking at it, he was great, but you guys have really come a long way in all aspects. And I think the turning point was that point here on what you talk about, as well as the part I saw your eyes light up when you said, your one sentence summary was, be the man you want your daughter to marry, and from that point on, you really kind of have been more conscious of everything.
Yeah, and we sort of chatted about the fact that I'm married now, and I got married in February, and we come back from our overseas trip and holiday, like our marriage and honeymoon and that. We come back into lockdown, into COVID, and we were sort of thrown in to the deep, as a lot of people were thrown into the deep end. Like when you're first married, your honeymoon period, you got a period of where you're supposed to be living this lavish life, and we were like literally locked in our house. And I don't know whether that was bad or good. At the time, I don't think we thought it was good. But I'll tell you what, I can't pinpoint that, as you said, and say, like, that's what's changing. I can't do it because there's so many other things leading into this. Like, Wealth Cartel has been a massive part of who I am and who I've become, mainly because I get the chance to watch what I say.
Or reflect even.
Generally, when you say something, especially me, like, I talk shit. I talk a lot. I know that, and people, like we chatted before, where one lesson that I've learned since I got married was that I wasn't as good as a person as I thought I was. And that's not because I was ever a bad person, but mainly because I now reflect as the head of a family. Where, for a lot of time, I was just me. And even when I did get with B, although I threw this persona of it's us, in here, it was just me, and there was always, until people say marriage is nothing. I used to say marriage is nothing, and when you commit to someone fully, and you can probably do this without marriage. There are people that do it, but to me, my opinion is Bianca. She's taken my last name. She's let me father 2 children that aren't mine. She's committed every little bit of anything of her entire life to trusting in me, or us as a whole, to create a life. I never looked at it like that. I'd always looked at it as if I was the breadwinner. I do what I please. I give you what you deserve to give, and that's it. And since we've been married, I don't feel like that anymore. What we're just watching in that video there was a part. One of my uncles, we touched on. One of my uncles he's a really good dude, very successful, made a lot of money, spent a lot of money, lived a really lavish life, and he had some stuff taken off him. Now, it had never happened to me. Oh, it did, but not in that sense. And I used excuses as to why I didn't trust people. When I met Bianca, like, looking back now, there was no reason for me not to trust her. She never asked me for anything. I gave her everything because in my mind, that's what you do, right? And like, I'll do that again. But
see, let me jump in there quickly and finish that. That now, preface here that being your money man, I see a bit more than most, right? Like, I'm a bit more intertwined, but I love that you said that, because one of the things was that's exactly what you were doing 12 weeks ago even, is you were giving her things, but then when you had an argument or whatever, you were using what you gave her as a I give you the words, but it wasn't things she'd asked for. You were giving her this life and then using that, whereas now that's not the case. Now you're not using it as a weapon, or you're not.
Well, I think I'd like to say I'd never do that again. Well, I just don't. I know myself. I know when I get pretty feisty, I say some shit I don't mean, and I fucking hate people that say stuff they don't mean and then expect you to not remember it. And I'm bad for it. I'm one of those people. The harder I love, it's fucking bad. But the more you love that one person, the more I'm sort of crucial on that one person. I think I've always been that way.
It swings. As far as you go that way, it'll go that way.
Yeah, and that's probably the best way to put it. Like, I believe I go above and beyond the majority of people I know. I believe at certain points of mine and Bianca's life, there are not a lot of people around that have been treated as well as she's been treated, or been given the life that she's been given. And I don't say that being arrogant or rude or thinking I'm something I'm not. I do that for my mum. I do that for my sisters. If I have the opportunity, I do it for you. Like, that's who I am, and that's what makes me feel the best within myself, is being able to provide these. And what I'm starting to learn, which it's going to take a while is that it always doesn't need to be money driven.
100%. I love that you said that because that's like when I say you guys from there, when I say you guys seem to go from you and her to we, like you guys still live you live really well, right? But you've completely changed that aspect of. I don't even think I don't think you've changed what you give. I think you've taken on in your head before, and you were worse than this before we started chatting as well. You were very money driven. That's what you thought it was.
All cash.
Yeah, all cash. And
always cash.
But what I think changed heaps, and I've seen this, and for me, this came from, I'll tell him my part, but this came from Arlene's chat to me. I've took a lot out of that was you went from going, I'm paying for all this stuff, right? You then started realizing what she does.
Well, I now understand that.
Like the non-monetary sense of the relationship.
Before I met Bianca, I'm still me. I never had none of this shit. I could make cash, but never in my life was I, getting what I'm getting. Never in my life was I looked at in a sense I was looked at. No one's going to look at a 25-year-old from Blacktown look at this gangster cunt. They just think you're a fucking crook. You get a missus and a family, and she starts putting the foundations in place at home, and then you get. And that doesn't mean that you can't be an entrepreneur being single. I don't mean that. But for me personally, I need the foundation. I need the backbone. She's my backbone. Like when I posted something yesterday, we went and got the car yesterday, and the car 12 months ago would have meant something very different to what it means now. And that's where I'm at. I haven't changed who I am. I've changed the thought process. So 12 months ago, the car was a gift to Bianca. Yesterday, we picked the car up. Bianca deserves the car, and he's paying the car off herself. It's not mine, it's hers. Yeah, I helped her get it.
12 months ago, you almost would have got it as a gift to her to say, look what I give to you, but also to say to the world, look how good I am for buying one.
Yeah. Yesterday, I posted a story, and I posted a post, and it read, I used to promise you the world, and I've changed my perception on that. I lied. It's now us versus the world. And that's how I feel. And it sounds cliche, it sounds bullshit and sad, but that's how the fuck I am. I used to say to my missus, I'll give you whatever you want. I promise you I'll bust my ass. I'll get this. I'll get that. I'll buy us the house. But it's not like, how is she supposed to feel about that?
The best part about that, bro, is, and what I think has developed your relationship over that time as well that I've seen, right? I feel like counselors, but this is
we might not need to post this. We might need to just watch his back.
Yeah. But what I saw was your not only yours but your household stress levels just reduced, bro. And you went from taking all the pressure off yourself, thinking if I don't do this, no one will, to let's do it together. And that's you went from putting all this pressure on yourself and the household to if I don't do it, no, I've got to do this. The family went, all right, we're happy, we've got everything we need. We're doing this together, and and it was a great example of that triangle in that I think you were too money focused, you know what I mean? You were money focused to get the lifestyle, but the happiness wasn't there.
Yeah. I'm a true believer of I'm the biggest student of Wealth Cartel.
I think we get the most out of every episode.
I'm 100%, and I'm we're the advocates of it, and we sit here and at times pretend we know everything, and don't get me wrong, we can continue to do that. But I've learnt more in 10 weeks doing Wealth Cartel about myself, mentally and money wise, than I'd ever learnt previously before. And I can't singly put, I was on the road to learning these things, but we have fast tracked in 10 weeks what most people won't learn in being able to sit down with those type of people. You don't do that every day. And when we done ours, when we watch ours back, even as I watch myself there, a lot of, when you do a budget, when you write up a budget, right, you can see your money and you know where it's going. When you're doing stuff like this, you can watch back and you can see your mindset. You can see your thought process at the time. You can see what you thought was, and then 12 weeks later, I guarantee you look back and not all of it's right.
I like the fact that a big part of the Wealth Cartel that I got out of, and I think you have as well, is that a lot of the stuff, we're not here preaching anything new, but every episode, things pop up that you go, fuck, I knew that. And then, this person like Arlene or Loz, right? Lauren was a great example of these things, the gratitude stuff. We've heard all that before, but you sit there and you hear this person go, this is what I'd execute to be.
You're watching it in execute.
And you go, fuck, I've got to do that. And so after the last 10 weeks, I think we've both just implemented one or two things from each episode that we knew we should have been doing that we've done, and it's cumulatively caught up. And I think
one thing I'd like to do as well eventually is now this would probably be later on in the but a day in the life of, like, I just watched a day in the life of Lenko, right? And people sit up here and go, what the fuck do these blokes? I'm like, if that's how you feel, don't watch, right? But what do these dudes know? Because we sometimes ask ourselves, like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, we're going to sort this shit out. But like, if I watch back, so there are times now where I'll have a really big day at work and it'll consist of nothing productive in my mind. Like, I've just felt like we're just problem solving the whole day. And like, you know, this literally happened. So I wake up in the morning, 7 o'clock, 2 people called in sick for work. I've never had anyone call in sick for work before. Never. Not once. The whole time, as Pino. 2 people in a day, I was like, yep, we can manage that. So straight on to problem solving. Instantly, 7 o'clock in the office, problem solvers, you'll start, right? Come 8:30, we had someone pull the pin on a set. I can't remember exactly what happened. We had someone pull the pin on a session that was supposed to be for that day. They paid a deposit, but they just wanted to change it for the fucking sake of it. I'd already scheduled something. I'd already booked a spot in. Anyway, so we're problem solving again. We've got like 100 emails in the bank, literally 100 emails across the 7 emails we've got. I probably had 20 inquiries on the Facebook. Anyway, everything just happened at once, right? Now, I'm pretty good generally problem solving. I feel like that's where I excel. I'm used to shit going wrong. I've become accustomed in my life to shit happens, deal with it. I've always since I was a kid, I've dealt with it like that. Not everything's going to happen. It's not always rosy, but when it does, the show goes on. Aaron and James from Pino and Picasso are a massive advocate of the show goes on. Like, I dare say that they've instilled it in me even more getting older. Like, shit happens, fucking get on with it. The show must go on. The client doesn't have to say it is what it is. That afternoon, Port Macquarie window got smashed. Canberra, the keys didn't work. They worked the morning before. They just didn't work. So if someone's there half an hour before a session with 20 people about to show up, keys didn't get them in the door. North Sydney's keys just decided to stop working the same day, right? By the time I got home that day, I couldn't tell you, bro, what the fuck I did. Nothing. Like, nothing to make money. Nothing. But I do believe that there is no one at all that is not successful that could have dealt with that day. Mm. And I took so much from that, because generally you have a really good day sales-wise and you go home and you feel really accomplished and you go, you know, I fucking made such and such amount of money today. Great day. To be able to have a real bad day, a terrible day, and go home and reflect on the fact that you got through that terrible day, that to me is the difference between Wealth Cartel and being on your own.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of our chat with Arlene and me. Chat with Arlene, with me, we did it with Steve, and we did it with Charles as well. Where that mindset, right? Like, people go, I had a 50 grand day, right? But they don't realize that 50 grand also covers the shit day you made no money. And that's something like that happened, right? It's the profit margin spread. So what's important there is you don't rest on your laurels like a champion, like Arlene talked about.
When it's good, when it's a bad day, that's when you got to get up and fucking go harder.
It's about being consistent with your results day in, day out, because when it's good, you want to capitalize on them. So the profit, you know, and Arlene talked about it when she said, you know, and Charles and Mir, they all talked about it when they said, you know, you can't have the mindset when you get the title to then go, I'm there. That's when the work starts.
A process thing that Arlene told me as well is like dealing with things in-house like that. Like, so say, for instance, she's a brand in her own right. And I'm not, essentially. Like, Pino and Picasso is, but I'm not a brand in my own right. Like, I started going down that track when I was at SWS and I pulled the pin. I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to build a brand. I essentially don't want anyone to know me. I want to build a brand, right? I want the brand to be particular, not me. Anyway, Arlene kept saying, like, the bad stuff doesn't need to be told. Like, not that it's similar to a pokey win. When someone wins 10 grand, they go, oh, I won 10 grand. They don't show you the 10 grand. They put in previous, right? Whereas with business, with me, so I've got business partners. My business partners, the first time they'll hear about that day is today. Yeah. And my job is to ensure that those people have enough faith in me to ensure that day I get through, right? Yeah. Now, I progressively since doing Wells Cartel, watch back certain parts of our episodes. I've watched certain parts of them 8 or 9 times. If I've had there's a part of Arlene's podcast where she talks about growing up in the country, and she talks about there are many days where she wakes up in the morning and she doesn't want to get it done. And those are the days where she feels like she benefits the most. Now there are days where
that champ camp shit.
There's days where I'm in the office and I go, I'm fucking fed up. Like I'm done. I need to go run. And there's an hour period there where you get like a second wind. I don't know how to explain it, but
it's like if you take the first step, your body goes, okay, and the next 10 are automated. And it sort of goes through, and then that's where the habit starts.
Yeah, and progressively too, like, so I bought this new ski, right? And like my boys don't micromanage me. Like I'm on a salary and I get paid to work. Now, what a lot of people don't see is they go, oh, fuck, Acko's out on his ski, he does this, he does that. They don't see me working fucking midnight Saturday night when something goes wrong in the studio. They don't see me 8 o'clock Sunday morning when 25 people want to reski. Like they don't see that, right? My boys know that. My business partners, they know that. There has not been one single question. I'm in a position now. I'm so grateful, man. Like I've got 3 dudes around me who essentially are the best at what they do in their field. And they have put this faith and trust in me to essentially control their, part of their money. And to me, that's massive. And one reason why I've let myself down in the past, this is where those old habits we spoke about, where I've always helped the bad people, the wrong people. Those habits now are starting to play right into my fucking hand. Because if I'm not going to let one of them down, how in the world does anyone believe I'm ever going to let this fail when I've got 3 of the best people I know in the world relying on me? Yeah. Now, if this was only my business and alone, now I say this with a grain of salt actually, because with Terrigal, when we started Terrigal, I never let it down, but it was very new. And there are going to be days where you slack. Now, I will never, ever purposely let someone down. I believe that is probably my number one fundamental for anything I do is if you expect me to do something for you and I've told you I'll do it, I will fucking do it. It's the number one thing that I've stood by my entire life. If you tell me you're going to do something and you don't do it because you just blatantly didn't want to do it, like shit happens sometimes, right? I can never look at you the same. I can't do it. I can never in my life look at you the same again because you've looked me in the eyes, you've told me, and obviously there's instances where it doesn't occur. It doesn't mean anything. But, growing up as a kid, when you promise stuff, like I'm not going to delve it right into this, but because, someone may watch this and get hurt. But I grew up being promised stuff and it didn't happen. Right? Now, it doesn't affect me now, but at 16 to 21 years old, I remember I had a terrible time trusting people that promised me shit. The word promise to me meant they were going to break it. It was honestly that. Now, when I speak to my wife now, when I say promise, if she says I promise to me, she'd want to fucking mean it. It's a fucking problem. Because she goes, I promise, joking. I go, don't fucking say it. If you're going to promise, say it, right? But as I've gotten older, that bad trait, or what I look back as I feel that was a bad trait, that bad experience with the word promise has made me a very reliable fucking person. Yeah. And everyone looks back and goes, oh, we've had a hard life, we've done this, we've done that, but mate, fucking pressure on rocks creates diamonds. And the worse a situation was when I was younger, the better I can make of that situation now. I strongly believe that. And yeah, I don't know, man. I don't ever see myself being that person that lets people down. I'll never let my kids down. I'll never let and if you speak to those people too, if you speak to my missus, my kids, you ask them if I do. Like my missus, I'll go out to a bucks party and I'll come back and I'll like, this is me letting my kids down in her eyes. Like I'll go away in the Byron Bay, I went away to $2 and I hadn't slept for a couple of days. And I come home and I was asleep. She comes in because I hadn't seen my kids in 3 or 4 days and no one to see me or something. This is the worst thing I've ever done. And it got me. She got me. She goes, Father of the Year, and walked out and shut the door. Mate, I could not for the fucking life. Sweet.
All right, bro. So let's go through. Let's just go through the episodes and suss out stuff out how, if you remember, what big things. So it doesn't have to be every episode, just what you got. So we'll start with yours. Did you, watching back your episodes or going through episodes, did anything really stand out from there?
Yeah, just the main part in regards to, I suppose, my wife and how I implemented things to change around how I felt about that. Yeah, nothing else really, man. I was a little bit, I think even then I was still a little bit bitter about, being ripped off money and stuff like that. I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like
you let it go?
Yeah, I feel like listening to everyone else.
It's been good, the series. Like we said, guys, we're not professionals. I'm a professional in what we're doing. Dan's a professional in what he does. But this isn't us trying to pretend we know everything. This is us providing a platform for us to learn and give other people. We're learning at the same time, and it's almost a reflection piece even for us, Mm-hmm. You get to reflect on things and let things go, whatever. Did you learn anything from my one?
Yeah, actually, I remember you talking a little bit about just having I feel like we're very similar in ways, and I remember talking to you about your mom and how you sort of grew up and the fundamentals of what it meant for your mom to sort of do this and make sure you I said I was wearing billabong and you said you were wearing something else, and that to me hit home. Like I don't disagree with the way what my mum did with me, but I don't want to do that with my kids, and we've started implementing that my mentality into our
just let Uncle Kingy buy the shoes.
Kids and the shoes are non-negotiable, but the clothes and that like
precious assets, bro.
The clothes and that like with my kids, man. There's a lot of non-negotiables there because I'm gonna do whatever the fuck. I like.
I never thought about that until you just said that then. But I think that's I'm gonna use that on. That's mad, mate. Because look at us two sitting here, right? We're literally dressed in the same shit. We literally have very similar lives, but I grew up not wearing nothing. You grew up wearing everything. For parents out there, that's a really good thing to think about because you think if I need my kid to have this, neither of us are any different, better off or worse from it. From either scenario.
If you teach your kids, the difference is from yours and my life was we were both taught the right way. Now, just because you wore certain clothes and I wore certain clothes didn't mean you felt any less adequate. You get what I mean? Mm. Now, I remember you saying something back like, well, you were like, well, fuck, mum's a tight ass. If I wish to fucking God my kids thought that of me, but they don't. They think I can buy them whatever they want, and that's going to change. Because implementation around that, like, I hope one day, for the sake of this argument, my kids can take over where I left off and be an entrepreneur. But if my kid wants to be a fucking bin collector, be one. Because, mate, the best bin collector in the world earns good cracker, and I just don't feel like I'd ever want my kids to look down upon anyone for not owning their own business. I want to teach them you can be whatever the fuck you want to be. And the way your mum, I feel like you are who you are and why you are the way you are with money is based off of your mum.
Yeah.
The conversation you had with me was there was a time in life where you hit the nail on the head and you went, wow, mum was doing the right thing.
Well, no, I did say that, but I also said and mum taught me that, but I also learned from, because Dad was like you.
No, but that's what, this is what I mean.
But I also said that Mum, I think, was too much on that side.
Yeah, but your implementation of what you've done in your life is the happy medium of both, right? I didn't have that. But I was taught from my mum, like, so my cousins grew up, so we lived Toongabbie Housing Commission. We lived my cousins grew up next to me on Toongabbie Housing Commission. They had nothing, right? But they were happy kids, man. I remember I smashed my fucking cousin in the head with a roller. My cousin come out in rollerblades and they were mine, right? And I was like, fuck, cunt, they're my shoes. Like, get the fuck off. And he was like, your mum gave them to me. And in my head, I was like, listen here, motherfucker, you are not wearing my rollerblades. And my mum literally gave those rollerblades to my cousin because she'd bought me a new pair. I didn't know about it yet. She didn't think I was going to go down there. I wagged school, went to my cousin's house. My cousin's in my eye, smacked the cunt in the head with the rollerblade. Right? And to this day, because I didn't understand it then. Like, if I look back at that now, man, like, oh, fucking, my mum nearly bought me good shit so I could hand it to my cousins at times. I know that too. I know that for a fact without her ever telling me that certain things she bought me.
They could hand me down to them, good hand me down.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, I did learn a lot from your podcast because I never knew that about you. It's interesting to know.
What about Arlene's? That's a big one, Arlene's.
Yeah. I remember Arlene saying something about, her mum's Filipino and she came over and her mum had worked this farm life. She come over, she thought that Arlene's dad was rich. And I'm very in awe of the whole situation around Arlene Blenko, mainly because there's not a lot of people, man, that have the resilience. It's very hard to pinpoint one from Arlene. Arlene is I grew up idolizing Brad Fittler, and as an adult, I always thought it'd be, as a kid, I always thought as an adult it'd be Brad Fittler, and my Brad Fittler is now Arlene Blenko.
I think just to help you out, I think the biggest thing I saw you implement from now, almost everything, because I got a lot of new things out of Arlene because I don't know her as well. Yeah. You knew, but every time you speak to Arlene, actually, you know what? I'll take this. Every time you speak about Arlene, it's like you just subconsciously implement these things you need to do. I don't think there was a lot of things you picked up on in that thing that you went, wow, because I think you've had those chats. But I saw immediately the motivation she gave you to get back on track with your little shit.
I think she knows that. She does. She has called me previously with me. So Arlene called me and said, I rang her and said, listen, she's a friend. She's a friend of mine. I rang her and said, I need to go back to the fucking gym. I'm fucked. I'm just feeling shit. She was like, yep, speak to this dude, right? This woman's fighting for a world title, right? He must have messaged her, bro. She messaged me and said, why the fuck haven't you been at Mears? I didn't know what to say, bro. I've never not responded to a message. I was like, fuck.
Imagine trying to tell Arlene you don't have time.
Well, yeah, but see, that's the best part about it too. That's the one. That's the one. I do not ever have an excuse anymore. Yeah. Because she blatantly has said to me, what's your excuse?
You know what? That's cracker because I talk about your relationship and you as a person, but that's something I've noticed heaps of you at the start of even at the start of the podcast, but more so before we met. You never shied away from the things you did wrong, whatever, but there was more excuses. There was not an excuse, a validation. You always validate it. But then, especially the last episode we got with Mia on, I noticed it the most. You just own it now. You go, you know what? I'm not turning up. I get it. It's wrong. And the next step from that's the second step, is now the execution, And I think you should be really proud of that, brother. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I can't just give her all the credit for that. That's an implementation of a lot of things. I tell my wife all the time, if you fuck up, if you do something wrong, if you make a mistake, I'm sick and tired of you. Not so much just her, but the kids in general. It's a household thing. And I need to live it. I can't tell my kids you can't lie about something or make an excuse for doing something wrong. Tell me you did it wrong, we'll fix it. I can't tell them that and expect them to live that life and implement that and then I'll do it myself.
And that's what I said to you at the start. That sentence you said, I legitimately saw something spark up in your head where you said, be the man you want your daughter to marry. And I've noticed I don't know whether you think about that often, but the moment you said that, I kind of saw your cogs turning over. And it's almost like every time you do something now, you reflect back to that and go, would I be stoked if my daughter, if this was the guy my daughter making excuses up about,
Yeah, and it's very reflective as well. I've got two young boys too, man, and I look at my daughter and one day I hope the fucking God she meets a nice bloke, But I also look at my boys and I want my boys to understand what it is to be a good man. And I got my 3-year-old's a terror, bro. He's a fucking good kid. He's beautiful, but he's a terror. And I got my work cut out for me with him because he's me.
He's a sponge, mate. He's a reflection. He's the
epitome of everything I am personified, and then times it by 100 because he's now got. He can look like he's me without having to look. When I grew up, I didn't have me to look up to. I didn't have me to reflect on. He's got me.
He's got that genetic trait of you, but you still have that time now where if you show him the right way, he can mold it. You know?
and I look certain things he does, and it's hard not to laugh. We went into a shop the other day. I was buying my other son's shoes for his birthday, and we went into this shop, and he snuck. I was watching him, snuck over to the mirror, and he went, to himself. He's 3, right? So he did that to himself in the mirror, and there was like people around, and like a couple of people are laughing, you know, and I'm fucking pissed. Like inside, I'm like, it was funny, but it was naughty, and I'm supposed to be the cool, like the it's all right, son, and like he's learnt little fucking. My kid is saying shit at 12 months old, and I hate it. It's funny, and everyone else, you know, but I hate it, man, because I hate my vocabulary. I still to this day can't walk into a meeting confident. I'm very confident in who I am or what I do, but I can't walk in there confident I'm not going to say something I shouldn't say. But it makes me. He's worse.
He's that little reflection of you on the things you subconsciously do. You don't notice. He's the reflection. You go, shit. He got that. He could only get that from me. You know. Yeah. You know, it's funny. All right.
It's like, hey, Dad. Mum gave me some cash today. I got it for you, Dad. I go, yeah. Why'd you get it for me? You always give me cash, Dad.
He's on the phone going, Dad. I will cash for you.
He's a little debt collector.
He no cash not he. All right, now this I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this one, man, because I've never seen someone walk away and openly just be turned inside out from somebody else's, like meeting someone else and listening to them like this. Charles Joyner is, whether it's fighting, I don't know what it's going to be, but that name, and mark my words, is going to be a household name. It'll be the Steve Menzies of fight.
I just don't know. Like, Charles Joyner to me is the epitome of what everyone should aspire to be.
But tell us what you talk about. Tell us about that.
Mate, I remember him say, he said this thing directly. He was like, what he does is, if it makes him feel good, he does it. It like sounds so fucking simple, right? But the way the consciousness he said it in, and the way he implemented it to him was, to me, I was like, I could take so much from this kid and implement it into my life. And I've watched, while he was talking, I watched my life flash before me. Like, if I implement these things, I'm a juggernaut. And like right now, I do not have a great routine. I do not have, like, don't get me wrong, I have a routine. I don't have a great routine. I don't have the faith in my fundamentals that he does. I haven't created the habits around my life like he has. I haven't got the goals set out like he has.
So off the back of that episode, man, we talk about Arlene a lot, but I'll tell you right now, the day of Charles' episode is the day you rang me to book in training. It was the day you got your athlete's nutrition meals. It was the day.
Oh no, it was the day I called. That was the day I called Arlene.
Yeah, but that was after the Charles.
After Charles. So I called Arlene the day after I spoke. The day I spoke to Charles and implemented that.
Which is a big step.
It was, yeah. I mean, I don't really want to talk about it because I haven't complete. To be honest, man, if I was still training and doing that, I'd really go on about it. But I've been fucking lazy. But
you pulled, like, you met some guy. You met this guy for the first time. You looked, and I saw you look at him and go, "Fuck, this kid's doing everything that I know we should do."
I met him here again a week later for lunch to discuss ongoing sponsorship of his fighting without him fighting. And, you know, although we didn't commit to a money figure, and I probably won't commit to a money figure without obviously getting to know Charles a little better. I knew Arlene quite well when I first committed to her money. I had said I'd commit, but I wanted to get to know her. And he, I've never met a dude that age that could swing. So, like, you get him in a room with you, man, he's going to make you feel a type of way. Yeah. And yeah, you might be right. Like, maybe because I speak to Arlene a bit more, I reflect a bit more with that. But that day alone, I remember leaving here. I remember talking to my wife about it. I remember talking to you about it. And yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to put that into perspective because he spoke for an hour and a half about shit that most people don't know in their lifetime. The consciousness of a 25-year-old kid to make sacrifices the way he made sacrifices. And Charles grew up in a Navy Army. In a Navy family, and moved around quite a bit, and the sacrifices that his parents had to make ultimately implemented directly to him. And
Yeah.
One day I'd like to be able to sit here and say that direct conversation, turned me to change my life.
I think it will. I think it has. I think it will because the number one thing that we constantly talk about throughout Wealth Cartel is people talk the people that are good in some way or another talk about consciousness, being conscious. But we talked about it in yours, we talked about it in mine, we talked about it in Arlene's. But in Charles's one was the first time that you went. For you, I saw that light bulb go, and you went, "Shit, we've talked about this a bit," and you started being more conscious.
Things that things that he successfully done over the 15 years of my last part of life, I've unsuccessfully done 100 times. And we spoke about in that meeting where he said some shit about he woke up one. I was like, "Fuck off! You woke up one day," and he was like, "No, I woke up. It was a bad decision the night before. It was free piss. I had something on the next day. It was a fight night he went to, and he had something on the next day, and then." I remember looking at him like, no fucking way. No, like everyone watching this, except people that don't drink alcohol, has said, I'm never drinking again. Never again. # never again. Like, can you just explain to the audience that that's not cocaine? That's not a little clip out coke thing. It's not.
It's just an inhaler.
It's fucking rush. No. So yeah.
Clear the airwaves.
When I spoke to him, I was very inspired, man. Yeah. You're probably right. That's the one I watch. That's the one I watch. When I'm having a bad day, when shit's going bad for me, or when I need a kick up the arse, that's the one I watch because that fucking dude is just living for one goal. There's a million different goals to it, but he has one goal. He has this
There's a purpose.
He has this thing in his mind, and there is no fucking chance in the world anyone's taking away from him. And I want that. I want to teach my kids that, man. I want my kids to have an end goal, which will obviously progressively change. But I want
change it from a goal, because goals are little, right? You achieve goals. Purpose doesn't mean you don't necessarily achieve purpose. You live purpose.
Well, that's right. His purpose in life, he's living. He's living his purpose.
Every day he achieves something towards his purpose.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Fuck, this is dragging on.
Okay, we'll go quick for the next.
Steve Menzies.
That was a pretty good day for me, man. I was very excited to meet Steve. He's a legend of sport I grew up loving, and I was in awe actually that day. I went home and I struggled to remember what we spoke about that day. He's a legend to me, man.
Why do we play golf with him?
To be able to have a conversation, and for Steve to look at me and respect what I'm doing with my life, and for me to be able to have that conversation in itself without him teaching me anything directly, that was enough for me to be grounded that day and really, really I feel grateful for what I do.
And that bubble conversation you talked about as well. Yeah,
the bubble conversation will always sit with me too, because everyone's in a bubble, everyone's in their own little bubble, and progressively you got to break out, and yeah, that's what I'm doing, that's what he's doing, and that's what you're doing, is we're trying to break the bubble, I suppose.
Was?
I'd never heard of Lauren Peters before the podcast, and I'm not going to lie, I don't know what Arbonne is. I do now. My wife was linked up with another type of brand similar to that, and Lauren's implementation of belief in herself was massive for me. Like, she believes. When you speak to her, she believes. She believes what she says. She doesn't say for the sake of it. She's a boss chick. When people look at that woman and they talk to her, they resonate, and she has an aura. She has an aura around her which I think everyone in business should achieve to have. And people look up to her, and the implementation of gratitude in the morning is something I think I would like to implement full time out of that. Yeah.
Yeah, Loz is a weapon. The Cartel Boys, that was a good one.
Yeah, the Cartel Boys was good because I know Zach, not on a real personal level, but I know him. I know who he is. I know he's a bit of his background, and I always thought he'd go really well. And pretty cool to have him on as well. Now that we're both going okay in life, I don't know Rochi real well, but I really enjoyed. Rochi's the dude out of the mines that fucking did it. Like, there's a few of them.
Yeah.
What are you laughing at?
Just that's exactly what Rochi is.
Yeah. Everyone else goes to the mines and I don't know, bro. Like, everybody talks about doing in the mines what Roachy did. Everyone's like, I'm going to the mines to work 5 years, or 10 years, to save money, to come home, to be a baller. Everyone, bro. No, who's done it?
Yeah.
That cunt did it. Like, he went, he fucking set his aim, he come back, and he started it. Yeah. So, yeah, pretty much Roachy to me is...
The successful mine guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, and there's a few of them, but not that I know of. Like, not that I know personally. And, yeah, he did what everyone said they'd do. And to me, that's astounding, man. Like, to be able to go and live that life and earn that money and then to stick to your goals that's what it's all about. And Zach's done the same thing. Zach's up there in a pretty cool clique on the coast and knows a lot of people and probably had the chance to fuck his life up a million times, bro. And
I think Zach's cool because of his he's like similar to Mir and Charles but he had more fun. He's had more of a lifestyle, but he was on a path from the start. He has consistency paid off for him.
See, Zach's is different to Mir's and Charles's because Zach, he's very similar mindset wise, but Zach at 18 was, bro, like I don't remember the exact time, but I know for a fact him at 18, he was running businesses. Like he had fully grown men working.
But that's what I'm saying, there was no, for any of those guys, there was never really a turning point. They all kind of were just on a journey.
So, but what you're saying, you know how you say, like, he's lived more. So, like, he lived more because he had the capacity to live more. And Charles sort of threw his capacity in.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? Yeah, but I mean, you're right. They're very, very similar mindsets. Those
just their journeys are longer. They had a more. They had they all had this trait of consistency. They all just did the right thing over and over again that made them feel good, essentially. And for Zach, it was business. For Charles, it was his thing, and for Mir, it was living that journey. Mir lived as well. We got to remember, Mir had a good. We'll get to Mir anyway. What about Alexandra McNally?
That was a cool chat.
Wasn't it challenging?
It was a fucking nightmare to start with. But see, that's what I mean. Like, you put pressure on rocks and it creates diamonds. I just reckon, like, that chat was real raw. We laughed. She was actually quite a funny chick, man. Look, what the fuck, man? Sorry,
not the fresh.
Alex believes in herself more than anyone I've ever met. I haven't met her. And I respect that fully. I reckon when you back yourself the way she does, there's very little room for failure. Alex doesn't believe a setback is failure, which is crucial, I think, for being successful. She's taken a different path, which takes balls. You know, when the rest of your family are a certain thing, for you to go against the grain, I respect that 100% because I'm very similar. You know, no one's done what I've done with my family, and like, my sister laughs. She's like, "Fuck! Like, how did you do it? Like, with the head you had, you just were going elsewhere. You're going to jail, or you know." And Alex, I respect her fully because she doesn't doubt herself. There is no doubt in her mind she's going to be a boss. I mean, she's a boss already, but she's not finished, and that's inspiring to me, man. Like, sometimes you forget to do that. Sometimes you forget to back yourself against all odds. Sometimes you're so caught up and stressed about shit that hasn't happened yet, you forget what you're capable of, and she doesn't have that.
Yeah.
There's not a bone in her body that she doubts, and to me, that's something that 95% of the world could take, and it'd be a better place. Like, people talk about the Olympics, right? And I remember my mate said to me, "Fuck, it'd be cool to watch a steroid Olympics."
The normal Olympics.
Well, but do you get what I mean? Yeah. But to me, the steroid Olympics, like the steroid version of the working world, is entrepreneurs. What they are is they're people that they have no self-doubt and they back themselves fully, which is essentially, you know, the top of the range athletes. Like, you speak to any boxer and you're telling me that at the same weight range, they're going to go and fight against someone they don't think they can beat. Like, they're going to fucking fight him because they think they're going to beat him. And even if you don't believe in them, they believe. And that's what I reckon Alex has in the business world. She's the fighting version of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Last one that we had, the most recent, Mir.
Yeah, Mir's a tough one for me because I've seen him in action, man. And even with, like, he held you accountable. He's the epitome of making hard, like, he fucking is just no holds barred. Like, if he thinks you're fucking up, you'll cop it, and I need someone like that.
If you want to see Dan copping it for an hour, watch.
You are never ever going to see anyone be able to speak to me like that. outside of him. And you know what it is? Because it's pure love. It's a love for what he does.
Comes from a good place.
Yeah, he's at it. Like I went and got a DEXA scan and I sent it to him and I was in shock. I was like, what the fuck? Anyway, he said to me, you know what he said? He goes, fucking shit, isn't it? Or what? No, that's fucking terrible, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, all right, I can't. Like, fucking
dig it
be nice to me, you know what I mean? Like, I'm fucking sensitive. But he said it, and I was like, yeah. And he was like, get in here. Anyway, I went on train for a week, and didn't have to say anything. He was so, bro, when he seen me that day, he was so disappointed. And I hate people. I don't mind people being angry at me.
It's not disappointing.
Don't just be.
That's what you say to your kids. I'm not angry, I'm disappointed.
I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. Then, like, your mum says that to you and you think about it for a couple of hours. She's angry at you. You think,
I'd rather you smack the shit out of me.
Yeah, hit me with the spoon. Don't fucking tell me that. You hurt my feelings. Anyway, so he's... what he's done with Arlene is he's put any shadow of doubt. I dare say he does this with all his athletes, but I know for a fact with her. Being able to try, you know, it speaks wonders when you're able to have George Kambosos, who's probably the best boxer to come out of Australia at his way. Well, he's the first one to do it really worldwide. Who?
Costa.
Fucking how long ago was that, bro? In a long time. Costa Tszyu was born and bred in another country, and don't get me wrong, he's an Aussie, right? I'm not saying he's not. Since Costa Tszyu, who? Lucas Brown. Lucas Brown went to England a couple of times, and fucking who else? Like on that level, George Kambosos is the biggest thing in Aussie boxing at the moment, right? Jeff Horn went and done a few things, but there's no one talking like they are about Kambosos.
Yeah.
His training regime, who he fights, who he trains with, the deals that he gets on. Anyway, this is not about George, but me being able to train a caliber of a fighter of that caliber speaks wonders for him. Then you go through his resume, you go through like he's certified, bro. Arlene Blanco, Tyson Pedro, Tai Tuivasa. He's got rugby league players in there. He's got whoever is not on your radar of Australian fighting right now in not even in Western Sydney. They fucking travel. Just whoever's on your radar, they go there. Now they don't go there because his gym is larger than anyone else's, or he spent $1 million on it, or he's got this massive following on social media. They go there because he's the fucking best at what he does.
I think one of the things with Arlene, we talk about her resilience. You always say you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourselves with. I think Mir has he teaches resilience, because everyone that goes there has this sense of resilience. But even more so than that, I don't know how to explain it.
But see, if you work to that, right? If you look at Mir's surroundings, he's surrounded. How the fuck is he going to fail?
Yeah.
Like, and not to say that's the only reason.
I think he's one of the most dominant parts of that circle. Like he is. No,
he's not the most. He is the most. He's not one of. He is the most dominant part. There is a common denominator between all of those fighters' success, and that's not to say that Mir is the reason they're successful. But there's a common denominator as to why those people go there, and why they continue to show up, and why, mate, go on to, I don't know if it's his socials or theirs. If you can find me one post where they're not telling you he's the reason, I'll eat me hat.
Yeah, he the other thing that was real cool about me was what I was gonna say then. Let's cut that bit out. No, there was what was I going to say? Oh, so look at. I think people. I don't want to keep harping on about Arlene, but I kind of do. But the caliber of person she's fighting, right? She's going as an underdog to arguably the greatest female combat next to Amanda Nunes, one of the greatest female.
Not arguably. Amanda Nunes beat her.
Yeah.
Right, but people will beat everyone.
But
George St. Pierre got beat, and he's the best ever.
But have a look at Cyborg, right? In the weigh-ins, have a look at her. She looks defeated, right? We talked about this morning. She has the hardest cuts of any. Like she looks terrible, mate. We jumped on a live with Arlene last night. She was laughing. Arlene's texting me and inboxing me when she's got more than enough on her plate with smiles and happy, having a chat, resharing all our posts, talking to Dan, like.
And that mindset is Mir.
And the fight dietitian, you know, Julie and all that
Oh,
stuff.
I mean, they're all compatible, but
tell me that's not a product of your environment. Tell me that's not a product of your environment.
It's a direct link to him. Like she has said, so when she advised me to go there was numerous other options she had told me I could potentially do, and she said, look, I think Mir's going to be the best for you because he'll hold you accountable and he's not going to just take your money and let you buy.
But we say you're a product of your environment. He has built the environment to be a product of. Yeah.
The gym that he's created, and like they're very new. They're raw, man. They're very new. But the gym that he's created there, like when you go there, there's a sense of family. There's a sense of it's everything you want in your surroundings. I was quite nervous when I first went there because, you know, I'm not at my peak at the moment. I haven't been there for a few years, and I'm not you know, like everyone classes themselves as an athlete growing up. Like I'm no longer an athlete. Like I'm no longer fit or even to the extent of, I could say, I'm uncoordinated in this environment because the shit they're doing is not what I've ever done before. So I was quite nervous walking in there. They made you feel a certain way. You left feeling a certain way. Like this dude's throwing food at me going, you got to eat now. You got to do this now. You got to do that now. He's ringing me saying, how's your body? How's this? My knee's fucked, right? And he was saying to me, like, we done some stuff. And my right lower back was just, I think it's sciatica directly with my knee. He was like, stop. I've never had another PT do this either. He pretty much walked me around the gym and was like, try this. And then was like, you know what? There's something, it's not, you haven't injured yourself. It's just, we've trained you too hard, cunt. Have a crack. What's wrong with you?
That was that clown.
Can't hear. Anyway, look, we keep talking about it. We keep talking about everyone else surrounding me because that's such a product of what he does, and I'm sure he would respect and appreciate that. What are you looking at?
The ladies have a chat.
So yeah, we keep talking about everyone else while we're touching on Mir as a subject, but I feel like that's what he does.
Yeah. All right. The recap for yourself. So, has your triangle changed since you started doing Wealth Cartel? Have you changed your 3 points, your balance?
I've started implementing change.
Like what? What do you think? Where do you think your triangle was? Where do you think you want to get it to? What do you think?
Well, my mental health is quite good. At the moment, we spoke about that earlier, and I think I started understanding how much I'd actually let my physical health lapse. So I want to continue to grow that. I don't think I realized how much I let that. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't feel the same. I feel like shit, but I don't think I realized how much that actually directly links. When I trained for that week, man, I was more productive than I have been in a week. Money wise, I've got a long way to go, but you know, we're the same thing. I've started implement shit to do that. Lifestyle, I've just lived too much, bro. That's the honest truth. Like, I sacrificed everything to ensure that I lived a lifestyle. I got used to the lifestyle, and now it's a process to go back to not living that. And
so reeling your lifestyle a bit to try and focus more on health and
but see, the things I feel like I need to reel in aren't even really like, they're not even a good lifestyle. Like, they're all so far tied in. Like, say for instance, my lifestyle at the moment, I eat a lot of and shit like that because I'm just lazy, right? So if I stopped eating that, it would instantly directly affect or directly reflect onto my physical health. They're so entwined. If I decided, you know, certain things that I do or I don't do in regards to money, like say, it's hard to explain without talking figures, but say for instance, with my money, I very well know I live outside of my means at times and majority of the time, and I think creating good habits around that now needs to happen. But happiness wise, I'm happy, bro. Like, and it's not to say because they're perfect that I'm happy. I'm happy because I'm working on them, and because
you're conscious.
Yeah, I'm going forward. My life's not going backwards, put it that way.
All right, so to finish it up for you, after 10 weeks so far, do you think, you know, the original summary quote from you was, be the man you want your daughter to marry? Do you have? Is there anything you'd add or change to that now?
Nah.
Or expand on that, or
the expansion of that is ideally, like that's my bottom line. You know, be the man you want your daughter to marry, and
what that means probably is,
and the man you want your son to be. Like that's my bottom line. But the meaning of that is essentially, you know, do I want my daughter to marry a man that's married to work, married to his job? No, I don't. Do I want my daughter to marry someone that's got respect in women? And yeah, I do. I got that. You know, like there's parts of what my bottom line is that I'm still working on, but I've got certain ones as well. There's certain parts of me I'd never change for the world, and there's certain parts that I'm working on every day. And in summary, that's what I'll continue to chase. I'll continue to chase becoming the man that I want my daughter to marry.
We've got some guests coming up that should help with that heaps.
Yeah.
Hectic.
Cool, bro.